Okay, Shakira, so there were a few things that I needed to go over with you. So on Monday, your Monday assignment should be in your folder. You have your Monday and Tuesday assignment where you had combination of composition functions. So on these ones where you're adding, where you have addition, you were trying to do something harder. You were trying to put a function into a function, which I think is because we had done that previously. But here all you need to do is just add those two functions together. And you did that on this Tuesday one. On the Tuesday one you had corrected that and you actually were doing it correctly, the adding and the subtracting stuff. I just need you to go back onto your Monday assignment and correct it. This is just a copy of your stuff. So on the Monday assignment, make sure you go through and actually add those polynomials, combine like terms here, obviously, right? So this, for example, would be t to the 4th power, and then you would have -3 plus 5, which would be +2. I confused myself there because the t looked like a plus. Okay, so t to the 4th power plus 2. Let's autofocus that. Sorry, it'll get blurry every now and then. I'll have to just adjust it. So that should be t to the 4th power plus 2, if you combine like terms correctly. Okay, so you do the same thing for that. Then you got your subtraction stuff. So on the subtraction stuff, let me see if I can get this one here better. Okay, that was good. Okay, so you're distributing the negative, right? So you're subtracting the two polynomials, so you write them, but then you got to distribute that negative, so that doesn't only make the 4x negative, it also makes the 1 negative. So once you do that, it should look like that. You would combine like terms from there, and that would be your answer. But I didn't combine like terms for you here, so you can do that on your own. So that's not your final answer, so go ahead and finish that off. And then you'll have to correct this one as well. Okay, so then let's go down to 5. 5, you're multiplying because this is a closed dot. So that means this is multiplying both of the polynomials. So if you put these next to each other, you're multiplying them. You do FOIL. You sound like you remembered how to do that. And you just multiply the first term times both of the ones in the second. Same thing with the last term in the first. You're going to multiply that to both the ones in the second. And when you do that, you just write it out. You should get this, because 4x times x squared would be 4x to the 3rd, right? Because you're adding the 2 and the 1. So 4x to the 3rd. 4x times -x, that's going to be -4x squared because there's 2 x's. -5 times x squared, -5x squared. -5 times -x is +5x. So then you combine your like terms, which would here give you -9x squared, and then you just bring down the other two that are not able to combine with the other one. And that would have been your final answer, 4x cubed minus 9x squared plus 5x. Okay, so you're going to have to correct this one over here as well. Okay, and then on 7 we had division. And I already wrote that out, but you just got to bear with me on this. I'm trying to make it nice, but I'd already written it out. So you're going to divide it, so that means you're going to put one on top of the other, and you have to put that in the right order. So the G was on top, and then the H was on the bottom. So I did that. I wrote the G on the top, the H on the bottom. And what you're supposed to do here is you're supposed to take out a GCF. So I looked and saw that the 3 and the 4, I can't take a GCF out of that. There's no common factor between 3 and -4. But between x squared and x, there is a common x, right? I can take an x out. So I took an x out. That when I took the x out from the 3x squared, it left me a 3x. And when I factored out the x from the -4x, it just left me with -4. Hopefully that makes sense. So you take out the GCF. So for this one, it was only an x. And then you see if you can cancel anything out. So since there's an x on top and an x to the third power on the bottom, that means that I can cancel one of these x's out, right? I can subtract these two. So if I subtract these two, that's going to give me x squared, and it's going to stay on the bottom because the bigger number is on the bottom, right? So the number stays where the bigger exponent is. So this is going to end up being 3x minus 4 on top, still because we didn't do anything with that. And we canceled out one of those x's, or combined it, however you want to say that. And that left us with an x squared. That left us with an x squared on the bottom. And this is as much as you can reduce this. So just stay like that. If you look over here on this one, again, you're going to have the top one, the f on the top, and divided by the g. So I wrote that out. And I saw that I could take a GCF out of this, so that's what I did. I took out a 5n squared, right, because the common factor between the 10 and the 25 is 5. Okay, so once I take out a 5, the factor that's left is 2, right, because 5 times 2 is 10. And then if I take out a 5 out of the 25, the factor that's left is the 5, right, because 5 times 5 is 25. And in addition to that, I can also, these have a common n, right, actually an n squared, because that's my lowest one. So I can take an n squared out and be good, right, because they both have an n squared. So I took out an n squared, so it's 5n squared on the outside, and then on the inside there was a 2, no n left, right, because I took out the whole thing of the n squared there. And here there was only 1 left, right, because if I take 2 n's out, there's 1 left on that one. So I took out a 5n squared, that was my greatest common factor, and the 5n squared was on the bottom from the g to the n. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to remember how to say this. G of n, sorry, g of n. Okay, so we cancel both those out because they're the same, right? So they're the same, so that just makes 1. So then your reduced form of this would just be 2 plus 5n. Okay, and that's how you do those division ones. You got to take out a GCF and try to cancel out what you can cancel out. So do whatever corrections you need to do on this. Finish off your division on the Tuesday assignment, right, on these two. Oh, sorry, no, these two. You know how to do these. You did these correctly. You're doing these correctly where you put one, when it has an open circle, that means that you're putting one of the functions into the other function, right? Okay, so you should be good on completing Monday and Tuesday. So I'm going to go ahead and go on to the composition of functions, or evaluating composition of functions for, what was this, Thursday. Okay, so this should be easy. It's kind of like from algebra. So you have a function, they gave you the x value, because anytime that you have the number inside here, that's going to be your x value or n value, whatever that variable is for your function. So this number is going to go in for that letter that's in your function. So you just put in the -3 and you just get your answer. You just do the math there. So -3 plus 4. Oh goodness, it's just having a hard time focusing. Hold on one second. Oh, goodness. No, I do not want to focus. Okay, wait, what? Okay, so -3 plus 4, that's going to give me 1, right? So W of -3 is 1. Okay, so same thing here for number 3. So if I put in -10 for the n, I'm going to put a parentheses where the n was. I'm going to put -10 inside there and multiply that and add the 4. That gives me 34. So f of negative 10 is 34. So that's easy peasy. That's algebra 1 stuff. And then when you get down here, it's not that much harder. I did give you an example of this where you just didn't want you to be thrown off by the variable being in the exponent place. You're just going to treat it like you would anything else. You're just going to put the number value that they give you in the parentheses up there. 4 to the first power is just 4. 4 times 3 is 12. So that's pretty simple. And then on this one, they want you to do the same thing, but they want you to combine the functions first. So you're going to do the same thing that you've been doing on the other assignments, but then you're going to plug in the negative 3. So on this one, I added the two functions. The h and the g were added together. When I combined the like terms, I got 2x minus 2. And then that wasn't my final answer, though. They wanted me to get what it was, evaluate it when the x is negative 3. So I'm going to put in negative 3 for x. When I do that, that's negative 6 minus 2, which gives me negative 8. So h plus g of negative 3 is negative 8. So it's not too bad. I also did this one if you want to look at this one. This was a division one. So we divided g and f. G was on top, f was on bottom. And I went ahead and I looked and saw that I couldn't reduce this. Right? There's no common factor between 2 and 3. And I couldn't take out an n because there was no n on this one. So there was nothing I could take out, no GCF here. And here, there was nothing that I could do. So I just went ahead and plugged in the negative 9 in both these places. Evaluated on the top, evaluated on the bottom, and then just reduced. Okay, so I would see if I could take a GCF and simplify this down, but if you can't, just go ahead and go straight into plugging in the number and reducing. Okay, so hopefully that all made sense. Go ahead and do your Thursday assignment. You might be able to do your Friday assignment too if it's similar, but if not, I will do another video for tomorrow for that next assignment. Alright, I hope you have a good day. Bye.